This is the Capitol Rundown.
I would expect any person that I appoint, or any person who gets appointed by me or anyone else, or elected for that matter, to have true fidelity to the law.
No indication that they're going to get a deal, but you never can tell. In lame duck, all sorts of strange stuff happens.
It's all straight ahead. The Capitol Rundown starts now.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Kiera Lake. The political scene across the state of Michigan continues to change seemingly by the day. And this week, the Capitol Rundown is taking a look at how 2023 is shaping up. And we start with Governor Gretchen Whitmer's second term agenda, and it's beginning to fall into place after defeating challenger Tudor Dixon. Capitol correspondent Tim Skubic sat down with the governor for an extended interview to discuss her plans going forward. Take a listen.
Obviously, we have seen an unprecedented change. The people of Michigan have reelected me, re-elected a Democratic-controlled House and Senate, but it's not an overwhelming majority. We are cognizant of the fact that it's going to be important that we are strategic and thoughtful as we determine what our priorities are and what we, where we need to continue to invest and where we might be able to give people relief. Any relief that that I've put on the table is targeted toward helping people that really are struggling to pay the bills. As we look at where our economy is right now and where we're headed, we're doing a lot of the fundamentals really well. We know that there are ways that we can give folks some relief, but also continue to make investments that are long overdue. And the work that we've done in the roads and education, these are important investments we've made, but these are also combating decades of disinvestment. And so we can't think that the job's done yet. I have served in the legislature. I know how hard those jobs are. I am grateful that there are good people who are willing to put their name on the ballot. And I also know that they will have a lot of different things to navigate for individual districts. And so I have encouraged all of my friends on both sides of the aisle to come with an open mind, get ready to roll up your sleeves, and let's see what we can do together. Everyone will be obstinate on some stuff that we want to do. I'll be obstinate on some things probably on occasion, but that doesn't mean we aren't up to the task ahead of us. We absolutely are, and I think there's a lot of negotiation to be had, and I'm excited about the fact that I'll have Speaker Tate to work with and Senate Majority Leader Brinks. They are two incredible leaders and people that I've known for a number of years now, and I think we're gonna get a lot of great stuff accomplished for the state of Michigan.
And although the top seats of the state's government will remain the same, Michigan is seeing a lot of change. Our Capitol News correspondent Tim Skubic is here for you now again to discuss the impending reorganization of the state government. This includes the appointment of a new Supreme Court judge, right-to-work modifications, a lame duck session, and a possible tax decrease.
She was on the ballot in November, but she lost, and basically the reason she lost is that there was a Republican on the ballot who had under his name Justice of the Supreme Court, which is worth a lot of votes. She had nothing under her name, so people didn't know who she was, but the governor does. And so the betting money pretty much was clear that she was going to pick Ms. Bolton, and now she is, and she will take office right after she finishes her legislative term on January 1st, making this a solid, democratically controlled high court, even though the court tells you it is nonpartisan. Organized labor lost this battle with Governor Rick Snyder and the Republican legislature on December the 11th, 10 years ago. And it was a bitter battle, and organized labor found itself on the losing end of a vote in the Republican legislature to repeal Michigan's long-standing right-to-work law. Well, now things have dramatically changed with the Democrats in control of the House and Senate, and take this to the bank. At some point they will vote to eliminate the ban and restore right to work. However, timing is everything in politics, and when we talked to the governor last week, she basically said, we'll get around to that, but I'm not, quote, going to lead with this. And part of this is based on the politics. Look, the governor has a very slim margin. She's got a 1-vote margin of control in the Senate and a 1-vote margin in the Michigan House. The last thing she wants to do is start out the new legislative year and poke a stick in the eye of the Republicans and undo what the Republicans did to right to work. Eventually, she tells me, she will get to that, and so will the Democratic legislature, but right now it's on hold. Organized labor basically understands the politics of this. knowing that they're finally going to win this battle, assuming that everything falls into place in the new year. At what point? She's not sure. In this lame duck session, it's still unclear as to exactly what they're going to do, if they're going to do anything. There is talk about what they call a supplemental budget bill, which is a new budget bill with additional spending on projects that lawmakers want. It's unclear if that bill is going to go forward. It's also unclear as to whether we might take a stab at the legislature and the governor at passing a tax cut package. Again, referring to the interview that we did with the governor last week, she opened the door to giving the Republicans what they want, which is a rollback in the state income tax rate. They've wanted this for years, ever since Jennifer Granholm left office, and that's many moons ago. The governor is willing to talk about that, but in return, she wants something from the Republicans, which is support for her tax cuts, which are also on the table, including what's called the Earned Income Tax Credit, basically targeted at needy families. She also would like to get rid of the, quote, retirement tax on senior citizens. And so there's some give and take that could go on in lame duck. No indication that they're going to get a deal, but you never can tell. In lame duck, all sorts of strange stuff happens, and this could be an interesting end to the year if they do come up with a tax cut package.
Well, up next here on the Capitol Rundown, we'll have the latest on President Biden, including what he plans to do when he visits Michigan later this week. Plus, a look at how domestic terrorism is being addressed. Stay with us. We'll be right back. President Joe Biden is scheduled to travel to the Mitten State this week to discuss manufacturing jobs and the state's economy. Organizers say he is planning to make a stop in Bay City to also talk about the progress the Biden administration has made in the last 2 years. This will include dialogue of the competitiveness legislation passed this summer to increase semiconductor production. President Biden's last trip to Michigan was in September when he visited the North American International Auto Show. Well, members of Congress, including Representative Alyssa Slotkin, traveled overseas to visit a few landmarks in Italy and Jordan before the holiday break. First up was the Sicily-Rome American Cemetery, where tens of thousands of Americans fought to liberate Italy. This includes the 36,000 troops who landed on the beaches of Nettuno as part of the Operation Shingle. In the second leg of the trip, the group met with the King of Jordan, Abdullah II, in the capital city of Amman. There, they discussed the strategic partnership between the U.S. and Jordan and efforts to promote stability and security in the region. Jordan borders a number of areas that are in dispute or outright conflict, including Iraq, Syria, and Israel. Well, U.S. Senator Gary Peters held a hearing with national security and counterterrorism officials to discuss the ever-changing threats to Homeland Security. During the meeting, he suggested the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI weren't properly addressing the threat of domestic terrorism. Peters added these ongoing threats included anti-government violence along with white supremacists.
The scope and the volume of these and many other national security threats requires Congress and this administration to work together to ensure that we're doing everything we can to keep Americans safe.
Members of the committee also talked about the federal government's efforts to protect the country from cyber attacks and the increase of severe natural disasters. In addition, Peters believes that social media companies can help to decrease the spread of extremist ideologies with more resources from the government, in particular, clarifying and improving guidelines on the various platforms while maintaining individuals' privacy. And coming up, we'll take a closer look at the newest Chief Justice for the Supreme Court, Elizabeth Clement. That and much more is coming up next. Welcome back. The state of Michigan now has a new Chief Justice for the Supreme Court. Justice Elizabeth Clement was chosen unanimously by her colleagues on the court, and she takes over for Bridget McCormick, who is leaving the court as soon as Governor Gretchen Whitmer picks a successor. Supreme Court justices are either elected or chosen by governors when there's a vacancy, and Clement was appointed to the court in 2017 by Republican Governor Rick Snyder and later elected to an 8-year term. Governor Gretchen Whitmer appointed the first black woman to Michigan's Supreme Court this week after Justice Bridget McCormick resigned. Kyra Bolden is a state legislator from Metro Detroit who has been a licensed lawyer for the previous 8 years. In addition, she was a Democratic nominee for the Supreme Court in this month's election. However, she finished third in the race for 2 different seats, and Governor Whitmer added Bolden's selection will serve as an example for the state's younger generations.
I would expect any person that I appoint or any person who gets appointed by me or anyone else, or elected for that matter, to have true fidelity to the law, to be honest, work hard, and to be someone that the rest of us can look up to. And I'm confident that Kyra Harris Bolden will be all those things and much more.
I'm so proud to work alongside leaders like the ones that stand before you, Governor Whitmer, Justice McCormick, Chief Justice Clement, and Representative Harris Bolden, who have done so much to make Michigan a fair and equitable and just place.
The 34-year-old attorney is scheduled to join the court after her current House term expires. When Bolden joins the court in January, the bench will keep a Democrat majority. And coming up next on the rundown, state Republicans will try to pass legislation that has been in the works since Governor Granholm was in office. We'll tell you what that is after the break. Michigan taxpayers could soon be receiving good news with the possibility of the governor and the Republican legislature cutting taxes before the end of the year.
It all depends on what the terms of the agreement are. I won't rule almost anything out. I can't think of anything I would.
Officials say ever since former Democratic Governor Jennifer Granholm left office, GOP leader Mike Shirkey and GOP House Speaker Jason Wentworth have called for a rollback of the state income tax rate. Now Governor Whitmer appears ready to discuss the rollback as part of a package of other tax cuts that she wants. However, there is no timetable as to when taxpayers will see the reduced rates. And speaking of taxes, over in Washington, D.C., following a 3-year legal fight, the Supreme Court cleared the way for former President Donald Trump's tax returns to be turned over to a congressional committee. The court rejected Trump's plea without comment for an order that would have prevented the Treasury Department from giving 6 years of tax returns for Trump and some of his businesses to the Democratic-controlled House Ways and Means Committee. It's the former president's second recent case loss in the Supreme Court. In October, the court refused to step into the legal fight surrounding the FBI search of his Florida estate that turned up classified documents. Those documents are at the heart of another Trump legal move. A federal appeals court will listen to arguments about whether the appointment of a special master in that case is needed. Natalie Brand is here for you now with the latest on the ongoing investigation.
Lawyers for the Department of Justice and former President Donald Trump are back in court, this time before the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals in Atlanta.
The Department of Justice has argued all along that it was inappropriate for the district court judge to have even appointed a special master.
The independent arbiter, Judge Raymond Deary, began his work as special master in September, reviewing the documents seized from Trump's Florida estate. David Weinstein is a former federal prosecutor for the Southern District of Florida.
What they're doing is urging the Court of Appeals to overturn what the district court judge has done, throw out the appointment of the special master, and allow the Department of Justice to proceed forward with its investigation.
The judges appeared to side with the DOJ, pushing Trump's attorney on whether they believe the seizure of documents was unlawful, asking, if you can't establish that, then what are we doing here? The Department of Justice days ago appointed a special counsel to lead the probe into the former president's handling of classified documents, which some legal experts say could mean the criminal investigation may be coming to a close.
I would expect that we are going to see something either at the very end of this year or the beginning of next year with regard to a potential indictment in this matter. And being a candidate for office at this point in time and not having been nominated doesn't provide any different protection for him.
Tuesday, Trump's lawyers also asked a federal judge in Florida to release the unredacted version of the search warrant that authorized the August 8th search of his Florida residence. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
Coming up after the break, we'll tell you how the president and the first lady spent their Thanksgiving holiday. It's all coming up next. Turkey was on the menu and on the pardon list for President Biden and the First Lady. Two lucky birds celebrated the 75th anniversary of the national Thanksgiving turkey presentation with the president on the South Lawn. And First Lady Jill Biden welcomed the official White House Christmas tree. And Natalie Brand is here for you now with the latest on the White House holiday festivities.
In a decades-old tradition, President Biden kicked off the holiday week by pardoning two turkeys named Chocolate and Chip.
Based on their temperament and commitment to being productive members of society, I hereby pardon. I hereby pardon Chocolate and Chip.
The pair from North Carolina got the full red carpet treatment in the nation's capital, even ruffling a few feathers during their hotel stay.
2 years ago, we couldn't even safely have Thanksgiving with large family gatherings. Now we can.
The president also used the occasion to remind people to get their booster and flu shots before gathering with loved ones this holiday season.
We have new COVID vaccine updates to deal with, new variants to protect you and your loved ones. So get it today.
First Lady Jill Biden and a fellow Army National Guard mom welcomed the official White House Christmas tree Monday, an 18.5-foot fir from a Pennsylvania farm. Tonight, the president and First Lady will head to North Carolina to serve meals at a dinner for military service members stationed at Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
And if you're interested in getting more political news from Michigan and Washington, we've got just the thing. You can sign up for our Capitol Rundown newsletter, and it's just one email each week, and you can get it by pointing your cell phone camera at the screen right now. It will take you to the sign up page, or you can head to WLNS.com/newsletter. And that's our show for this week. Thanks for joining us and watching the Capitol Rundown.